I'm the Executive Director for NCRSOL. I'm also on the Board of Directors for NARSOL, and prior to NARSOL, I worked for IBM as a Senior Project Manager for approximately 14 years. Is that it? That's it. That's the button. Okay, got it. All it was, I could see. I worked for IBM for a while as a Senior Project Manager. So one of the things that I did while I was there was cloud computing, which was called co-location at the time. Today, you know it as cloud computing. So I do have a background in business, also have a background in human resources, worked in the military as a human resources sergeant as well. So these are some things about my resume as well. Prior to Advocacy, worked with LGBT organizations as far as legislation for gay rights, gay marriage and so forth, and also legislation for animal rights as well. So, yes. A graduate from the Arizona State University, also a master's in public policy from the University of South Dakota, and right now in the middle of sabbatical with a PhD program at Liberty University in public policy. I have worked with the Charles Koch Foundation as well as a policy analyst, and I'm on the UNC School Law School when it comes to advisory council for UCLA. I'm a project manager, also a Six Sigma and human resources certified specialist. That's a little bit about me. Now, how many of you have actually been to your legislature? How many of you have actually wanted to go to your legislature and you haven't been able to do that? How many of you are just terrified to go to your legislature? And why is that? Why do you feel that it's necessary to feel that fear? And it's probably because we feel intimidated, or you may feel intimidated. You feel like, I'm not getting anywhere with this. How is this going to work? What do I do? The question you have to ask yourself is, how are you selling yourself? How are you introducing yourself? What is your pitch? And the pitch is, how are you getting in the door with your information? That information begins with, what do you do? Who do you represent? How do you explain NARSOL in a sentence? How do you explain it that's energetic, enthusiastic, and uplifting, and lets other people know of what you do? How do you do that? That's a difficult job, because when we come to the conference, the first thing is we hear, well, such and such is on the registry, or there's civil commitment, and I don't know when this person's out, and things. It's really hard to sell harm and emotion and things that just really consume us, and make that a powerful statement that you're looking to change things, and you look optimistic, looking the part. So the first thing you have to think about is, you're walking into the Senate or you're walking into your legislature. What's the first thing that's going to happen? You see your representative and you say, Mr. Such and Such, I need 5 minutes of your time. For what? Where do you begin? Who are you? Why do you need that 5 minutes? Is 5 minutes too long? I just need a minute of your time. If you shorten it down, give the ability of having a 1 minute dialogue, it is an elevator pitch. An elevator pitch should be nothing more than what you're doing in the event of an elevator ride. So imagine getting in an elevator. How many people have actually heard of elevator pitch before? How many people have actually used one? It's a great thing. It's kind of like saying your little instant resume within probably 30 seconds. How do you do that? I am Dwayne Daughtry. I'm with North Carolinians for Rational Sex Offense Laws in North Carolina. And I help represent people that are impacted, families, children, by the Sex Offense Registry. Very simple. Well, what does your organization do, the senator or the representative or elected leader may say? We do a lot. We are a resource. We are the premier resource. I didn't even know there was a program like that. It's an engagement. You don't want to get into the yes-no conversation. You want an engagement. You drag it out. And next thing you know is that one 20 to 30-second issue turn into a 5-minute, or come back to my office and tell me a little bit more about you. You're getting in the door to talk about what you want to do. But it's all about technique. Technique is, how do you go in confidently to do this? How do you actually begin a conversation? First of all, it's got to be brief. People that know me know that I'm not a brief person. I can talk forever. And that's fine. If you're the talker, that's fine. If you're the introvert, I'm not trying to make you an extrovert. I'm trying to get you engaged. My first speech at the North Carolina legislature was a train wreck. I had every note card there was. I thought I had it ready to go. I was going to walk in the door and wow them. And I got up there before the microphone and they said, "You have 2 minutes." My mouth opened up and it was, I'm Dwayne Daughtry and I'm from Raleigh. It was a train wreck. I was scared. This confident person standing before you today that knew my legislation, knew how to speak about it, knew about advocacy, had years and years of experience talking before all of you, suddenly became shell-shocked because I wasn't really prepared. I didn't know what I was getting ready to do. Everything went blank. Because I didn't rehearse it. I rehearsed animal advocacy. I know all the Sarah McLachlan themes to all the animal rights songs. I know how to do things with LGBT rights. I'm very comfortable in the game, but what did I know about sex offense? How did I know how to sell that part? I can sell puppies and kittens and LGBT people. How do I sell sex offense? I thought I was prepared. Wasn't prepared. My technique was not in line. It wasn't practiced. So when you're talking about an elevator pitch, practice, practice, practice. It is like no other thing you've done before. Practice on the phone with other people. One thing I'm going to kind of change a little bit of this subject here that I kind of want you to pencil in or pen in is something very important. If you're never going to talk before your congressman, your representative, your senators or elected officials, how do you make this same elevator pitch to bring people to NARSOL? I think that's very important. How do we sell somebody that's out there right now that knows us because they were invited to this conference and that we want to keep them coming back? We're doing the same thing in practice today because you're all going to be practicing in the classroom here. How to actually engage and get people to come back to NARSOL or be a part of NARSOL or to be a part of our messaging. I think that's very important. Would you not agree? Okay. So, avoid being the elevator propelled. That person's stuck in the elevator and you're talking and talking and talking. They feel like the Pepe Le Pew cat trying to get away from the skunk. They want to get out of the elevator pretty quickly because you just keep rambling and talking. Or you're giving them so much data, so much information that it's overwhelming. Elevator pitches and an introduction should be very simple. It's like dating in a way. You know, that first time you meet somebody, it's like, "You're nice, I like your shoes, pretty hair, whatever." Kind of get it? Instead of, "Hey, I saw you from across the room, you're really hot. I thought you were great, and I saw you dancing on the floor, blah, blah, blah." It's just blah, it's just, they're not interested anymore. Keep it short, concise, sweet, to the point. That's it. Make sure that they have the ability to re-engage back. When to use it? When do you use your elevator pitch? When do you want to use it? Use it when you're most comfortable. Use it when you've practiced. Practice amongst one another. Practice while you're here. Elevator pitches are very simplified by just going through and saying the following things. Sell something in front of you right now. Meaning, how do you sell NARSOL? How do you sell this organization? What do we have? What is our product? Our product is people affected by the registry. But it's like a cell phone plan. There's many parts of the registry. And there's North Carolina, there's Colorado, there's Florida, there's Ohio, there's Michigan. It's a very difficult thing to sell, but sell the product you know. If you're from that state, sell what you know there. Sell it in the ability of, you don't have to sell your story. It's not about you. It is about the bigger story. So many people go before their representatives and they're too busy thinking that what they are selling about themselves is them. The message is about who you are representing. Who are you there for? You are there for others. If you're there for your issue, it's personal selling and you've lost your audience because you're the audience. You may have been affected or know somebody that's affected by it, but you're there for a bigger issue. Elevator pitch and sales pitches is always about the product, not you. You're just the delivery, and you're the conduit. Once you actually have the message that you're delivering, you want to make sure that you're not selling it by your feelings. You're selling it with your passion, but you're selling it on a broader stroke level for others. It's like the people that are in civil commitment. How do you sell that? How do you sell that as far as being there? Representatives and so forth can't be there. Remember, that's your product and you're selling that. Does everybody kind of agree where I'm going with that? Have I lost anybody? Is there any questions? If you have a question, please feel free to raise your hand. So we're kind of on that page now. So now we get to the point of creating that elevator pitch. The first thing is, make sure you use your name. Say who you are. And say it with enthusiasm. Be confident about it. So the first thing is, my name is Dwayne Daughtry. And I'm from your organization, North Carolina for Rational Sex Offense Laws. Try not to use acronyms like NARSOL. Use the whole name at the beginning and then say NARSOL at the end. Do not be ashamed of who you represent because it's the name. It's what we do. Yes? Do you have one? Okay, slow down. So, yeah, I'm sorry. It's a cat. You got me. It's good. So make sure you get to the point where you are confident of mentioning the name. And you notice I did a pause there because some people are just scared to say rational sex offense laws. They're scared to say Oklahoma Voices or Colorado for this or whatever. Be confident of who you are. You're selling that product. You are selling yourself with that product. Be confident. Own it. Don't be scared of it. The person that you're talking to is interested. They've stopped. They're an elected official or they're a representative. They want to know because once they get to that point of your pitch of I'm Dwayne Daughtry and I'm with North Carolinians for Rational Sex Offense Laws. Oh, what's that about? Okay, they've interrupted you, but are you ready for the next part? We work with people impacted and affected by the sex offense registry, rather their children, family members, or registrants themselves, and their allies and supporters. Instead of, I represent a bunch of sex offenders. Which sounds a little bit better to you? The first one or the latter? Mentally decide there. So The first thing I want you to do is, if you'll notice on the back, there is a nice, big, beautiful, fuchsia-looking paper. The reason I do this is when I've taught classes before, if you write on big papers, not many people can read what you're writing, so if you feel embarrassed to write what you're doing and so forth, this gets past the embarrassment part. It's just a mental thing. So what you would want to do is write your name and who you represent. Don't forget, this is going to be interactive. Everybody's going to actually get a try at this.
Does it have to be NARSOL?
It can be whatever you want it to be. I represent my community of such and such county of people impacted by the registry. You can start it off any which way you want it. It is your elevator pitch. And when you look back up this way, I'll know we'll get to the next step. Okay. The next thing we want to do is define what we are, and you've already done that. You, who you are. What is your goal is the next sentence. What are you going to put there? Why are you here today? Or why are you at the legislative building? Or why are you at that church talking about your community as far as NARSOL or whatever your affiliate may be? What is it that you're doing? The next sentence should be your name followed by the organization you represent and why, what brings you to the legislature today. So, let's go around a little bit, and I'm just going to point, and if you're shy, don't worry about it. We're all going to, mistakes are beautiful things, because mistakes are learning points. We can make a lot of mistakes. Let's just try not to make them habitual. I can do that a lot. But what we want to do is make mistakes and learn from them. Today is a matter of learning. Today you will have, this is for you to keep. You can actually use it so that when you leave, you can keep reflecting back on it and so forth. But it gives you an ability of how to form something as far as an initial conversation. It will give you the confidence. Trust me, it will give you confidence. So, right here in Colorado, what can you start off with?
I took some of your words.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Pat Harris, and I represent Advocacy Change, AFC. I'm here to represent people impacted or affected by sex offender laws.
Okay. Very good. Now, remember what we heard earlier this morning about sex offender?
Oh, that's right.
No, that's fine. No, you're right. You're right. You got it. We want to change the language a bit. So if you put the word sex offender in there, is that what you want your legislature to do? You're actually accidentally, and I would probably do it too. We've done this. We accidentally have trained the next person to train the trainer. We have given the legislature the right to use the word sex offender. So replace it with registrant, or people on the registry, or people, humans.
I put on there the advocate for just treatment of those with a sexual offense.
Absolutely wonderful. Beautiful. Poetry. Love it. Yes?
So, should we be specific about, advocates for change in Colorado, since we're dealing with?
Good question. The question is are you making this redundant? If you're saying you're with Florida Action Committee and we're protecting people in Floridians, have you done that twice The question is, do you really need to make it twice for Coloradans? What you're doing is you're using the word twice when you're trying to tighten it up and keep it short. So I would take the word Coloradans out.
No, I'm talking about, I'm Roger Kincaid with Advocacy for Change in Colorado.
Yes,
I
correct.
mean, that's okay.
That's fine. That's completely fine.
And then I just put, help folks and their families who have been convicted of a sexual offense.
That's correct. Yes, a sexual offense instead of sex offenders. So everybody's got that. What do we have over here with the lady in the black? Yes, right there.
Hi, my name is Chandra Lee, and I'm the Executive Director of United Voices for Sex Offense, UV4 NCRSOL. Our organization advocates to reform laws that marginalize people who have been convicted of sex offense.
Very good. So I'm Senator such and such, and what's UVSOR?
It is United Voices for Sex Offense.
Okay. So do you feel comfortable saying who you are without having an engagement of who is? Because now, as a representative, I just forgot who you are and what you're here for, other than now you just repeated the name of your organization. So do you understand where I'm going with that? I'm trying to keep it where you say who you are confidently, they get it, they understand why you're here, instead of bantering about who are you again and what's that. So again, it's keeping it very, very concise and very open without all the acronyms. Acronyms are just something you just want to kind of avoid unless you're in the military. So you've got that. You've got that part, and that was very good. And you'll make an excellent executive director. So the next thing is yes. Try it.
Hi, I'm Dr. CEO, and I'm with the Florida Action Committee. I'm here to champion the rational, effective laws that impact persons on the sexual registry with the aim of lowering recidivism.
Okay. So, and it's the mask. It's not you. It's sometimes I can't hear it. So it's this time I want you to try to say it without looking at the paper.
Okay?
Or without looking at your phone.
Alright, so hi, I'm Dr. CEO of the Florida Action Committee. I'm here to champion rational, fact-based laws that impact people on the registry with the goal of lowering recidivism.
Very good. I wonder how you do. You're with who?
Florida Action Committee.
Florida Action Committee. I know Senator Book, and she's told me all kinds of wild things about what's going on in Florida. How long have y'all been around?
It's been around for a while. Actually, one book and ourselves has the same goal. We want to limit future sexual abuse. And we're aligned on that.
Very good.
The method is different than ours, and we teach how to get there with it. We're aligned.
Right. Good. Thank you. Notice what I did. I became a little bit hostile to it on purpose because many of you have already experienced that as far as going there. And you hear that, and sometimes our inflection in return kind of gets defensive, when really the issue is I'm a representative and I've never heard of it. And now is my chance to sell it, because I'm not trying to sell the scary part. I'm trying to sell the confident part of our organization and the good things that we do in all of our advocacy. So it's important that when you hear something that sounds defensive to you, it is not defensive. It's questioning that they've never heard of it. So learn to find that division of where to find that hostility. It's not hostility. Representatives have a lot of agendas, and they really they don't understand what's going on in the world until we explain it to them. It's a very important part. So thank you. Yes.
If you'd like to try mine.
Go right ahead.
I'm an acronym. I represent Nebraskans Unafraid. We work with those impacted by the registry laws for those who formerly committed a sexual offense.
Yes. Very good. It sounds like, and it just sounds like, that it just needed a period somewhere in there. So it's going to have to come, and it's kind of breathing. Look, National Association for Rational Sex Offense Laws is not very catchy. let's just be honest about it. It's not a very catchy. It's catchy to say NARSOL, but it is a lot to kind of say who we are. You know, people will say IBM, but they won't say International Business Machines. But when we say something and saying, I'm from National Association for Rational Sex Offense Laws, known as NARSOL, then you can actually keep going through and mentioning NARSOL after that, because you are going to be talking about sex offense. So start off, make something, put a period, and then restart is my suggestion there. Middle table behind you. Anybody at that table? Look at that face. She's going, no.
My name is Julie Emmons, and I represent families and registrants affected by sexual offenses on the registry. My reason for being here today is address ways to change the registry.
That's very good. It's very good. It's fluid. Sounds great. And you're who again?
Just myself.
Just yourself? Okay. So, but you represent people on the registry. How do you represent people on the registry? That's a good segue into, and we'll get the other tables as well. That's a good segue into is making sure you're really prepared for the peppering that's going to take place afterwards, and you just have to keep practicing on this one. One thing that I would like to actually put into play here is the ability to write at the very top of your paper is saying, it's okay to say, I don't know, but I will get back with you. This is a good way of actually getting their question, writing it down, and making sure that you have now an email connection that you can engage in dialogue. It is okay to say, I am not aware of that answer, but let me research that and get back with you. That's a very good question. Always follow up with, that's a very good question. Yes?
That's a very good question, thank you.
Yes.
I'm like this person back here. Who do I represent? I really don't. But I said I'm a concerned citizen representing families affected by unfair and outdated law. But my opening statement, my elevator statement would be, hey, Senator, it's about families. You got a minute? See if I can get his attention, her attention that way before I go in. But I represent, just like I say, I represent the citizen who are concerned about it.
Right.
Is it? That's enough?
And that's fair. That is fair because there are some people that are members of whatever their state affiliate is, and they're not a member of NARSOL, but they are concerned citizens. And that is a fair statement because you're not a lobbyist. You are a concerned citizen walking into the legislature. I think it's very important and very empowering. Anyone that is a part of these rooms is walking into their legislature and confronting it head on is not only an advocate, but a concerned citizen, taxpayer, and so forth. They are afforded all rights and privileges, in my opinion. So I think it's very important to be organic of who you are instead of trying to go in there and say, well, I'm a lobbyist. Well, now they don't want to talk to you unless you got a check in your hand. Don't be somebody you're not. So I think that's a wonderful way of explaining that. So please go in, and if you're not sure about your organization, ask can you use their name? That's very important. Also, ask your organization to help you with your elevator pitch so that your elevator pitch and your organization affiliate are on the same page. It's very important because if they're saying, we are for the abolitionists of all sex offense laws, but you're going in and saying, I'm against this type of law here, it sounds like you're not on the same page. And some people in organizations, especially North Carolina, we are abolitionists, but we also want to say we can negotiate. We can always come back and say we're still abolitionists, but we want to chip away. So our message is not coming in strong as a Sherman tank. It's going in basically to talk about what we want to say. So very good. Texas, back there.
I'm Kevin Ward, and I represent Texas Defense Civil Commitment, TAC. I am part of a small advocacy group dedicated to a clear path of release and reintegration of individuals assigned to civil commitment
Okay. How many people are on civil commitment?
Currently, there are about 397 in the facility in Louisville, Texas.
Doesn't sound like a small organization to me.
Well, our organization.
So the optics are sometimes you don't have to embellish, but you do not have to actually be too conservative about your spread. You're meeting someone that's representing constituency of an entire state of Texas, very big population. And people, by civil commitment, anyone in Texas is prone to it. So I take the word small and just replace it with your organization. And if you say it now with the word small, how would it sound? Taking the word out small.
I'm part of Texas Against Civil Commitment, that group dedicated to improve advocacy.
Wow. Sounds like a pretty big organization, if I never knew what your numbers were. And yes, right there.
So question, when you provide a number, such as you did, and when you think of how many constituents you have within your area, is it not also true that that's a very small number compared to the entire constituency?
So that I get a better clarity about this, is if you're asking, you're giving data as far as a number in your elevator pitch. I would highly discourage putting any number in there because I'm trying to get the senator or elected representative to understand who I'm with or who I represent or why I'm there. The next part of the conversation should be the data. It should be more about their constituency of this is what's happening in your community. The following could be followed up with data to support your previous statement. And then the fourth part of that should be how that data was gathered in the first place in comparison to data that's already been provided. That's the conversation. Never start off on and this is a good question, it's a very fair question. Do not start off on data at the very beginning. Start off with who you are. It is an introduction. It sounds like, it would be like saying, I'm Dwayne Daughtry and I represent R2D2, and that's all they remember is 40 or R2D2. They don't even remember who I'm with because they're trying to remember what the number I'm giving. Numbers have it's like math, looking at people that are taking calculus class and they look, why are numbers and letters in the same thing? I'll just remember the numbers and that squiggly looking X. They forget about what they're there for. Yes?
Do we have a better chance for the youth accomplishment or experience?
Well, we'll get to that one in a minute. So you're ahead, but yeah, it's a good question. Table all the way in the back. I know you're saying he's probably forgot about us. The guy with his arms crossed and the burgundy shirt on. Yeah.
I'm David Chambers, member of Texas Voices, here to talk about our community members that are
Okay, fair. And where will you be speaking in what committee room today? You're going to be speaking before all of Texas representatives today? Yes? No? Sure, okay. So make sure that your elevator pitch doesn't say exactly what you're going to be doing today. Keep it benign enough, keep it vague enough that you are here to speak to other representatives today would be a better situation. Other than the senator or the elected official or your audience member may assume that you are invited guests to speak, and then they find out you're not, and you're like, oh, you just tried to weasel me in. You tried to get me to understand something. Is that really the way the first impressions? Okay, but good, we're getting there. You're kind of getting the feeling for it. I'll level with you that there is no easy way to write an elevator pitch. It just gets better. It will change. It will morph. You will feel confident about it once you get to wear it and it feels natural. Don't let it become this robotic way of reading things. You know what robotic ways of reading is? This is why I don't like PowerPoint presentations, because as a professor in college, reading from a PowerPoint presentation, you could have taught yourself, and it's a waste of time. If you're reading a script to a representative, it sounds like you're a scripted person, like calling that call center that's supposed to be with Microsoft, and you get some person on the phone and they're talking to you reading, "My computer's broken. I understand that your computer is broken. How may I help you today?" Yeah, I've turned it off and on. And then they repeat with, "Have you turned the computer off and on?" And if you get where I'm going with this, make sure your elevator pitch is you. And if you're soft-spoken, be soft-spoken, but be a little bit more assertive. If you're very, very energetic like me at times, and you get to know me that I'm like an explosive ball of energy, rein it in. It's hard for me to do. But make it your voice. Fail a few times. You'll get better. Once you talk to 120 representatives and 50 senators, and then the entire chief of staff office for people that are with the attorney general's office, and once you get to talk to all the prosecutors, all the sheriffs of 100 counties, all their attorneys, all the other people, your elevator pitch will be damn good. It just takes time. Your first one will be a train wreck. And you'll probably pat yourself on the back. And please do pat yourself on the back when you talk to somebody. Give yourself credit. You're doing something no one else is doing, especially when you hear the representative say, "I didn't know your organization existed. Where have you been?" I've been around for 12, 13 years. Would you like to come to the conference in Raleigh next year? I'll give you a ticket. Or, is your representative, you call me as your board of directors saying, "I'll send them the damn ticket. I want to get their butt here." I've just done two things. Use my elevator pitch. You've used your pitch to me. I get them here. We get your constituency. We start building the organization. We start building our message. That's what the elevator pitch is all about. It's building a bigger and better message, but it's also the confidence. And I see that confidence in there of everybody here. You're very special. Your families are very special. We look at the people in representatives, senators or representatives themselves, or assembly people in certain states. We look at them as sometimes the enemy, sometimes the people that craft the legislation. Who do you think is doing the elevator pitch on the other side? The senator isn't writing any laws. The representative is not writing any laws. It's your sheriff's association, police benevolence committees. The people I sit on the other side of, and I'm best friends with all of them, and we argue every day, and then we go home like that Sam and Ralph cartoon where they go and try to beat each other every day, and then they clock in and clock out. That cartoon. Right, the sheepdog and the wolf. That's who we are. We're best of friends. Even Senator Britt in North Carolina, we're very good. He's horrible when it comes to legislation, but we have a relationship. We talk on the phone. It's important. He has his job. I have mine. Don't take it personal. Go in, do your best, make your elevator pitch. Eventually, we get some change. You will get change if you're there. Be visible. Your elevator pitch will keep you visible. Yes?
Is it okay if your elevator pitch entices questions? For instance, if I say we work with those impacted by the registry laws and not explain what the registry laws are, and continue those laws impact families, children, jobs, housing, and the elderly.
Guess what? You've done a wonderful thing because you've gone to the next thing called the USP, the unique selling proposition. What are you doing? What does that mean? You have a program that's going to help children? What? I don't get this. We're trying to keep those people away from children. You have a program for children? Yes, we have programs in our NCRSOL that will actually tell you about the arms of internet And if you really don't believe that data, just turn on anything about Facebook today and talk about that. We don't even need to print anything. CNBC, CNN, stock market, they can all tell you about all the harms and effects of Facebook. Yes, we can do a lot of things with the USP. So the USP is the next part of it here. So you need a pitch. And you'll see it say here, we use data and scholarly driven approach because it is a proven rationale methodology. We explore regions or constituencies to find out exactly what proves to be most effective and necessary. Although it takes a bit more time, it means a considerable part of our members, communities, and courts rely upon us to make better decisions. That's a mouthful, but if you read that and start taking some of those words and applying it in the conversation, it will get better. I just sold them a little bit of air because that's what I'm selling, but I'm giving them a vision of, you know, the courts use you? Well, absolutely. Everybody that's actually been convicted of sex offense has gone through a court. We're the experts. Go to our website, you'll see everything about Wiki, but you won't see it on anybody else's website. We have information that can actually help you craft better laws. We have members. We have 50 different states. We have an entire umbrella organization of NARSOL. Our phone is never rung from anybody here until we actually show up, and now you're calling us for information. Somebody will call. Your elevator pitch will turn into a unique selling opportunity. So what is recidivism in an elevator pitch? What does it mean to you? When you think of the word recidivism, what do you think of?
Somebody that created, does the same thing over and over.
Same thing over and over again. So they're somebody, a repeat offender.
I think it's crap, the word. Recidivism is crap, it means nothing.
Right.
That's
So who uses the word recidivism first?
those crap makers there in Tallahassee.
Right, okay. I like that. It's a very strong opinion.
Department of Corrections.
Right, they make it. It's kind of like the word sex offender. Why do we take the word and make it something that's theirs? We need to change it. If there's a repeat offender, and I use the word repeat offender, guess what? They're going back to prison. And you won't need a registry because they're going to be in there for a long time. They haven't learned their lesson. But they don't need to be in a civil commitment program because they've already done their time. And they don't need to be put on a registry because when they get out, they'll probably be on probation. So we don't need two levels. So there is no recidivism. Recidivism is a made-up word in my opinion. But in the dictionary, it really states that recidivism is a repeat of a different offense on a different date. Meaning, you've already served your time in prison and you're a recidivist because you were released off probation and parole and you've repeated the offense again. In the federal terms, they use recidivism as stacking. You've done this many times on the same date and you're a recidivist. Take the word recidivism out of your vocabulary and say, we do not like repeat offending. We, as an organization, are against repeat offending and for stern sentencing. So be careful with your words. Choose your words carefully. And if you have to do the, I call it thesaurical research on words, you're not making it your words. You're making it some sort of very big explicative dictionary word. If the senator has to go and look it up, then you probably don't need to be using it. So keep it very organic. The senator will buy you some words, and when you don't understand the word, the first thing I will say is, Senator, what does that mean to you? Instead of what does that mean? I turn it back on them. The conversation is a conversation of the elevator pitch, making sure it's your information. You own it. Nobody's writing your elevator pitch. This is your standard. So why is, when somebody says, well, I'm happy you're here from Florida Action Committee, and I'm happy that you're a part of advocacy and change of the great state of Florida, but recidivism rates are really, really high. Senator, where did you get that information from? Because that's completely different than my information. Well, I got it from the Department of Crime Control and Public Safety or whatever in Florida. So let me get this right, Senator. You went to the very organization that supposedly has data about this, but we can't see, and you believe the very organization that actually incarcerates people in the first place. I'm confused. What independent organization provided the Senator? Well, you mean you don't believe police? No, I do. I trust and believe them. But what independent organization? You got some great universities here in Florida. I would like to see that. Let's put together a grant that would actually have University of Florida dealing with this. Switch it up, pivot, give them somewhere else direction in. Take the word recidivism out, give them an idea. Do you see where I'm going? Pivoting. When you are backed against the wall with something you can't wiggle out of, make something new and creative that seems rational and creating jobs. It will fluster every senator and representative in front of you. And there will be an awestruck. Yes?
Wouldn't it be better to get the actual information that they use and try to find out how they got that information and present a counter argument on that and show them how it is wrong, how that is wrong?
It can, but now you're negotiating with numbers. And you're spending too much time on the numbers game instead of the human game. People are not census, they are people. And once we put a name in front of it,
you don't have to work with numbers though. Once you show that that's wrong, you can say, well, what else have they given you that's also wrong? You could just kind of, just something to just crack it open a little bit.
Right. So, I'm thinking a better way of pivoting for that type of question for me would be if you take the information of a number and say, and actually put a human value in front of it. It's like, Billy did this, and now Billy is labeled into you a repeat offender. But Billy is not really a repeat offender. Billy is a repeat offender in your eyes, but according to the charge, it was he violated a part of his condition by residency restrictions or something else. It's called technical recidivism in your state, but I call it garbage. You call it a repeat offense or recidivism. And really, it's your design, Senator, that sent this person back to prison, not for a sex offense, because they just didn't fill out your paperwork properly. Senator, let's work on the paperwork problem. And then keep Billy out of prison. Does that make better sense?
In a way it does. It's just, if you give them a way to justify their numbers, then they can say, well, then their information is correct.
Yes, own the numbers. You own them. It's okay to say, Senator, I think you got your numbers wrong. Because then show me what they've done. Most of the time when I'm meeting a legislator, they barely remember what their fiscal budget is. Nevertheless, their own Social Security number. I'm trying to get them to get away from the numbers. I'm trying to get them to understand legislation is a matter of writing a piece of paper. I want them to change something else. I'm getting them engaged. If they want numbers, I'll send them all the data they want. Right now, if you'll notice, I take numbers off of the table. Data means nothing anymore because let's just look at a common thing about COVID. All we have to do, should we wear a mask? Should we not wear a mask? Should you get vaccinated? Should you not get vaccinated? And let's look at all the scientific data today. All of it. No matter what your opinion is on it, it is a huge debate. And that's all it is about the numbers. We're not even talking about the solution. We're too busy talking about the numbers. Take the numbers away from it and have the conversation. And own the numbers, own them. And just say, the numbers are just too low. Somebody's inflated the numbers. It's like the numbers of people in the state of Florida, I think is around 73,000 people on the registry. They only have 73,000 people living in Florida that are on the registry. There's probably 38,000. It's just everybody went on vacation in Florida and had to register. It's overinflating the numbers. So don't get into the numbers game. Walk away from it. And then show them their own math error. You don't have it. You don't have these people here. And then show them the guy that lives in California is on the registry. Well, it's not even on the registry anymore. It was on the registry in Florida. Take it out of their hands and own it. But it goes back to the first proposition when I was mentioning in class, know your stuff before you get into that information gathering as far as talking about the numbers. The first thing is getting the conversation started with an elevator pitch. Who you are, who you represent confidently, why are you there today to talk to them? Do not get into the trap of going into an office and talking about everything about the registry. Pick one topic matter. Pretend you're going to court for a speeding ticket. You don't want to talk about the traffic light. You don't want to talk about the cop that was down the road running radar or LiDAR. You don't want to talk about the bird that ran out and the dog and the kid and things like that, the ball, whatever. You are speeding. Talk about the speeding. When you go in and you talk about the registry, talk only about the issue that affects you that moment importance. It's like a date. You don't want to tell everything that's going on. You want to talk about what's most important to you right there at that moment, because you have probably less than 5 minutes, and their assistant will be programmed to call in 5 minutes. In fact, I set my watch for 4 minutes and 30 seconds for it to beep on my wrist because I know there's going to ring in 5 minutes. I actually say, I need to wrap this up. And they just look at me like, oh, well, I've got 119 other people to meet. I want to own it. I want you to own it and understand their little tricks. It makes a little bit of better difference in your life when you know how they operate. I'm giving you the keys to the city. Go in and exploit it. All right, is that fair enough? Yes, no? Okay. Watch your body language. Oh yes, I'm sorry, go ahead.
For me,
Oh no, in the back.
If someone comes back at you and basically challenges your data like that, how are you personally doing that?
Give me an example.
Well, use the gentleman's situation right there. Doesn't that put that as a negative sign?
Is it? It's fact-finding by the person on the other side. Don't try to measure their negativity toward or lack of reception as negativity. Do not assume someone else's hostility as authentic, because they're somewhat putting on a show that it's very difficult for them to say they're pro against the registry without offending a major part of their constituency. I usually say when somebody is very negative to me, saying, Senator such and such says to me, you know, these people deserve to be on the registry. What they've done is just unforgivable. It's heinous. We can't let these people loose in our city. I first get in that shock because I'm like ready to just unleash on that person. But the first thing I'll say is, you know what, Senator, I was just like you. I agree. I was just like you. Until the registry impacted people, I started to know. And it changed. It changed very quickly. And those constituents that are out there are the people that are banging on your door saying that they're tired of rape culture, they're tired of this, and they're tired of that. But, you know, your voters are not. They're saying they're just tired of unnecessary laws. Let's dial back the heat a little bit. And let's really talk about a rational discussion. Let's let's learn to actually negotiate and actually have something as far as a discussion of what is rational today. What do we have? How can we begin that conversation? And he'll probably say, I don't know. I know it's going to be very difficult to waver my interest. But Senator, I understand that, and here's my card. Let's stay in touch. Give yourself a breathing room, give themselves time to think, and come back and start afresh again. Start brand new as if you're meeting them for the first time. They'll remember who you are. You don't have to go through your elevator pitch, but you're going through and saying, you know what? I think we were very impassioned that day, and I respect what you do for a living because it's very difficult to do. But let's start new, and I have an idea. Let's start with a piece of legislation that actually, if we're going to tackle the registry, let's talk about an idea, and I'm just loading this right here on the spot, that will actually dial back people being put on the registry. Let's make it the judge's discretion, or let's create another legislative law that says their ability to petition after 10 to 15 years, automatically, clean record. Let's just do that. Can I at least get you on board with that? I'm like, well, they don't need to come off, he'll say. No. If they've got a clean record for 10 years, is that a road to redemption? I guess so. Then that's a good start. Let's start there, Senator. I'll write up the bill for you. Hostility has turned into an opportunity. If you know me, Christopher knows me, if you know me, you will know that I'm very optimistic because I have to sell hope. I have to sell opportunity. I have to sell our idea. It cannot be negative. Everything we're walking into the room is negative. We're the public defender of registries. And we have to win. We have to be good at winning, and we have to know that we are a winning team. The world is against us? No, the world is out there. We are against it. We just have to keep pushing harder. The elevator pitch is one way of starting how to have that discussion and be optimistic about it.
I tend to be one that gets in your face, especially if I disagree with you. I go to the council meetings in Southwest Florida when there's an issue with the sex offenders. And I don't keep my mouth shut. In fact, it pisses me off when people sit around, they hear a councilman out there say, there's 60% of citizens in sex offenders. We know that they're molesting your children right now. It goes on and on and on. Nobody says that. So I stepped up to the podium. I said, Senator, you can make your mouth say anything. When are you going to prove these facts? Then the audience applauds.
Yes.
You know, but there's got to be a time we've got to correct certain people. Is that right? Am I right?
Correcting them, yes, is one way of doing it, but how you do it is a political thing. We want to keep the doors open. Coming in full barrels blazing or whatever is not a negotiation. It is more of a hostility. And it's kind of like saying, I'm Democrat and they're Republican. It creates division. I go in very apolitical.
I'd never do it public council. If I was somewhere else, I'd be very much more apolitical and professional about that.
It is. We want to go in passionate and impassioned. We're looking for that applause. We're really looking for affirmation. But the issue at hand is we're trying to seek the people to make change. And it's going to be chipped away very slowly, very slowly. We'll eventually get that. And I know we're getting ready to run a little bit on time. I'm going to run through, but we'll take some questions at the very end. Yes, go ahead.
Just a suggestion, person first language, person
First language, right.
Not sex offender.
Yeah, I knew when I left that meeting, I was wrong. But I was just so passionate about the 60%. I was really angry. And I was angry that nobody else stood up.
Well, I had the similar thing. Really quickly, I went to, I think, a Senate meeting, and one of the representatives was creating a new bill of legislation. And I said, you're just all creating Jim Crow laws, and all of you seem pretty racist to me. And that's my observation, because you're creating the same law that was created a little over 70 years ago in North Carolina. And here we are dealing with a Black Lives Matter issue, and you've just taken something from the Black Lives Matter book of wanting to destroy and created a law regarding property boundaries and so forth. And I just can't believe this. There was 2 African American people sitting there, and they just, they turn around like, okay, good, keep on. This bill was only created because, and I went on this side, this bill was only created because the senator that created the bill didn't like her neighbor. It's kind of like saying, I don't want African Americans in my neighborhood. She took her portfolio and slung it and hit the wall and walked out. The bill died. And I thanked her for her time. The future of elevator pitches is social media. I want to end on that. Social media is very difficult. If you're a Twitter person, you know you have a few characters to make an elevator pitch, and you have to be very creative in making that pitch. But that's the new future that's coming around the corner. So make sure that your elevator pitches on social media really reflects the message of your area, whatever's impacted. Your messaging is not angry, because you will actually need that person in social media in the Senate and representative or elected official later, especially if they become governor or treasurer or whatever. You're going to need that. So be careful what you say on social media, that I do not take things out. I say, I think Senator such and such got it wrong, but I understand why they did it. They're wrong, in my opinion, but I understand they're a politician. I didn't say that, but the context is there. If you'll understand, it's very open-ended. It doesn't create conflict. It creates an opportunity. Because now the senator is probably going to read that, or his staff, and go, oh, Daughtry didn't like that, but he understands it, so he plays fair. And I still have an opportunity to go back in there instead of saying, that SOB doesn't know what they're talking about. And well, now I'm never going to talk to that senator again, because they're not going to give me the opportunity. So social media is very key. And remember, what you say on social media is forever. So here's the thing. On the very back page, you'll see, identify your goal, why you're there, explain what you do, communicate somehow your USP or your unique selling proposition, engage with a question, put it all together, and practice. Practice, practice, practice. I will be here all weekend. I will be around, and I have business cards on the table. If Christopher passes out, you will all have my personal cell phone number, which is my cell phone number. You can call me, you can text me. Just remember, I'm in North Carolina, so all you California and Colorado people, if you're 11 o'clock, are you from California? I'm in bed by 10 o'clock, so I'm Eastern.
So, I really appreciate your presentation. And one thing that came to mind for me is that, I'm certainly interested in talking to legislators about those issues, but I also know parolees
Yes.
and guys that are inside and so on and so forth. And I can see that it's going to be really important for our elevator pitch, for it to be specific to that person.
Right.
Because I can talk to them about, parole really needs to be changed and so on and so forth, which is true, but that's out of their arena. So it appears to me we need to be pretty careful about how we present, what it is we present to legislators versus,
And when we do present, you're right, and when we do present, don't forget, this is an introduction of presentation. We know laws change every day, and it keeps getting funkier and funkier. But we are presenting, and you are becoming a conduit. That person you're speaking with is like, you know what, I spoke to this guy named Roger a while back, and he's got a card somewhere, or he's got some programs. Something's going to come across their desk where your phone is going to ring or your email is going to go off. It's going to be an opportunity. Don't look at it as, oh God, this guy is calling me back. Or yippee, the guy is finally calling me back 3 years later or whatever. Something has come up, and are you ready? Because now they're really needing your help. Law enforcement is only enforcing what the law is written, and sometimes they go above and beyond. But we went in and started showing the sheriffs of how to do these things and saying, we can save you some money. We can actually help you with recidivism or repeat offenders. We can help you with this. What we're doing is we're becoming the conduit, not the enemy. We're becoming an engaging part of our community. And then I'll get out and say, this is what we're going to do. If they're the change maker of policy, I'm the change maker when it comes to rewriting that policy. We are expected in NARSOL to legislate, litigate, and educate. We really know how to sue people, and we really know how to legislate in our constituency. The biggest issue that I have, and I think this is why it's important for me to be here today and continue these education things, education is key. If I can educate more people in how to change things, then, and only then, we will become the change makers where litigation and legislation are a sideshow because we've educated so well. And with that, I thank you very much. And if you want to take this again, I'll be doing it tomorrow, and we'll go through it one more time. And while you're here, I'm going to come up to you and say, all right, give me your elevator. Come on. All right, thank you very much.